Hey everyone, I'm Jaden,
And I'm Noah.
and we are the Super Gamer Bros, and this is the Super Gamer Bros podcast. We're just a couple of brothers who love playing games and talking about games, so that's what we do.
Today we are discussing Titanfall 2, created by Respawn Entertainment, which itself was founded by former Infinity Ward employees who created the Modern Warfare series. A lot of big names in this game. The game is a sequel to the 2014 game Titanfall. This game both refined and improved upon the gameplay in that game, as well as adding new features such as a story mode.
So I don't know about you, but I thought Titanfall looked so cool when it was first announced, and I hated that it was online only because I don't like playing games online. I'm not good, I get frustrated very easily, so, that sucked. It was also an Xbox exclusive, which didn't help. So when Titanfall 2 was announced, I was really excited because it was both on PlayStation and it had a campaign. And every person that I heard talk about the campaign, like in the years after it had come out, said it was very good. And so 3 years after it came out, it was on sale, so I bought it, and now we get to talk about
Right, we both played it around that time.
it.
Right. I was much more excited about the multiplayer than I was the story, although I did hear also from all of the people who played the story that I knew that they really liked the story as well as the multiplayer. So, Titanfall 2's conflict takes place in the Frontier, a region of star systems far removed from the core systems where Earth is located. The Interstellar Manufacturing Corporation, IMC, and the Frontier Militia battle for control of the frontier. The IMC seeks to exploit the frontier's rich resources, regardless of the consequences for planetary environments and civilian populations, while the militia fight to expel the IMC and gain the frontier's independence. In the wake of the Battle of Demeter, the militia is on the offensive, battling for resources and control of the frontier planets. Though weakened by the lack of reinforcements from the core systems because of the destruction of the refueling facility by James McCallan, the IMC is still a dominant fighting force attempting to drive the militia out and put down any resistance to their control of the frontier. So that's just like the politics,
Yeah.
right? It has a very, it's very military imbued,
Yeah.
When it starts out, you're like, in the single player campaign, the player assumes control of Jack Cooper, a lowly rifleman from the Frontier Militia, sent to the alien planet of Typhon as part of an assault on the planet by the militia, who must join his former mentor, Captain Ty Lastimosa's Titan, named ET-7274, to foil the IMC's plan of interstellar domination. And
Yeah.
there you basically have like the crux of the game, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Very simple kind of FPS plot. It's an FPS game. There's a war, you're fighting in the war. That's it.
But that's not it. You get your Titan, and
Well,
that
yeah,
changes the game, right?
yeah,
Because Titans are basically like giant mech robots that certain soldiers who are trained called pilots can control. Can also operate on their own,
yeah. They're like artificially intelligent
artificially intelligent,
AI.
right? They kind of give me like almost like I want to say like Transformers vibes.
Yeah, mm, I wouldn't say exactly, but in terms of giant fighting robots, yeah,
Mm. And the relationship between the robot and the human.
yeah.
No, Transformers is always pushing that crap.
I don't know because the Titans are still like programmed. They still follow like certain programs, while Transformers are just sentient robots, pretty much.
Right.
Anyway, there aren't too many characters in the game. It's very like, despite the fact that it is like a war in space and it's all futuristic stuff. It's actually a very what's the word? Very like isolated
I was
story.
gonna say contained.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Uh,
It's very close knit.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you play as Jack Cooper, who is a militia rifleman, and basically they're like just ground soldiers.
Hmm.
You also, I guess, play as and travel with BT 7274,
Hmm.
who is the Titan who was under command of Captain Lastimosa. And after Captain Lastimosa was killed, like before he died, he transferred control of BT to Jack.
Hmm.
So Jack was like a sort of promoted
Yeah, he
field
was
promotion.
field promotion. Yeah, happens all the time, I
Hmm.
guess. And then BT was linked to Jack Cooper. They're like tied together, and this allows Jack to be able to control BT.
It's
Really,
like a neural link
right?
kind of thing, futuristic.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So then, basically, the campaign, you two of them, you're basically completing Lastimosa's mission that he was on. You know, you have your antagonist, pretty much the only antagonist, really, in terms of like gameplay,
Mm-hmm.
story wise. I guess there's the Apex Predators, which are basically a group of mercenaries. The leader of the Apex Predators being Kuben Blisk, who he's the one who actually killed Lastimosa. So you kind of have a personal grudge against him.
Right.
And then his Apex Predators, there's Viper, Ash, Richter, Kane, and Sloan.
Uh-huh. Yeah, what gave this game life to me was the character and the Apex Predators, the antagonist,
Hmm.
as well as the dialogue and interactions between Jack Cooper and BT,
Yeah.
because they're given a lot of personality as well.
Yeah, also like it's very small, but there is kind of like a RPG-esque element of like you choose what Jack says to BT.
It's very
Very
minimal.
it's basically
Yeah,
you choose line A or line B.
right,
Line A usually being a straightforward soldier by the book response, and line B being a
right,
jokey kind of response to
right.
everything. Does this have any outcome on anything except the dialogue you hear?
No.
No, but it was still fun. I
Mm.
enjoyed the interactions.
Yeah, and the antagonists, Apex Predators and Cuban Blisk, they all I felt like had you kind of just like talk to them a little bit before you fight them, and then you
Hmm.
fight them and kill them, and then you move on to the next one,
Yeah.
and it's kind of the same charade over and over
Hmm.
again. But each one was different, a little bit individual, and they were all like the different Titans that are
Yeah.
in the game,
Uh-huh.
and I appreciated their aesthetic
Yeah.
because their Titans stood out. They were
Yeah.
differently colored and had different weapons and attachments on them.
Hmm.
Yeah. Then we also have the side characters, such as, of course, Captain Lastimosa. Captain Lastimosa was Jack's friend and superior and the original pilot of BT.
Yeah, basically, you work with him in the tutorial mission because you're sort of like training to be a pilot. I don't think it's like officially training. I think it's like Lastimosa saw something in you and he's just taking you through the training courses. And then he dies in the first mission, saving you pretty much. And that's it for him. He's done.
Hmm.
And then there's also Sarah Briggs, who's the commander of the Marauder Corps, an elite group of pilots, basically kind of like the SEAL Team 6 of Titanfall.
Right.
She, I mean, she's also not in the game a lot, but she's there. Then there's General Martyr, who is kind of a he's a high-ranking officer in the IMC research division. He's kind of like the emperor to Kuben Blisk being Darth Vader. Of in this game, he's like there, but he's not there.
Hmm.
He's not like personally
He's always on a
there.
screen, right?
Yeah, like he's
Or on
always
a
yeah, it's
overcoms
an
or
overcom
something
thing.
like
You
that.
never meet him personally. I don't even know if he's on the planet you're on at the same time. Even like you never actually meet him, but it's just he's still he's there. Not a lot of characters. So then story, you start in the training hall, training with Lastimosa. Then you go down to the planet. You end up getting basically beaten in that your ship ends up crashing because I believe it was a surprise attack by the IMC.
Hmm.
Lastimosa ends up dead. You end up linked to BT. You get him power core so he can move
Hmm.
again.
Right.
And then basically you're just trying to reconvene with other people,
Hmm.
other Frontier militia members, and completing. Lastimosa's Last Mission, which BT knows, but he doesn't really tell Jack what it is. Basically, you have to meet up with another pilot, Major Eli Anderson, and find his last known location
Mm,
and get his intel, which is basically on a new IMC device called the Fold Weapon. You get the intel, you contact the IMC, the not the IMC, you contact the militia, specifically like Sarah Briggs, the higher up people,
mm,
get the intel to them, and then the rest of the game is get the Fold Weapon and destroy it.
right. I believe where this game thrives is in the gameplay.
But you do, I guess, you do get captured, and BT gets transferred to a new body, and then BT also sacrifices himself. I get it's not like super complex, but it's also not as simple
Not
as
the
it could
worst.
be.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, it was fun. I liked it. I thought it was a good
It was
story.
enjoyable. It was. And I believe what made it enjoyable is the gameplay itself. You've played Apex Legends and you would be familiar with the movement and guns and weapons and grenades in this game because it is basically the same
Yeah, it's a very standard mobile FPS game. Mobile meaning mobility, not mobile game.
thing.
It's like when you're, shooting a gun, it's
Mm-hmm.
an FPS game. It's not like it's very smooth. I love how smooth it is, but it's not like there's nothing super stand out about that. I feel like in terms of like
You're talking about the gunplay
the
itself?
actual gunplay itself.
The gunplay itself, I'll give you that, but the running and sliding and
Well,
jetpacking,
the
they did
traversal
that
part of it.
before Call of Duty was doing it.
Well, no, I agree with that. I'm saying
Mm,
like the actual just gunplay itself is gunplay in an FPS game. It's
that's true.
standard. It's good standard, but it's standard.
Yeah,
The traversal is what set it apart from all the others.
yeah.
At least when the first game came out at the time, and even then, I think Titanfall, specifically Respawn, because Apex Legends does it as well, but Titanfall Respawn does it the best.
Their traversal is amazing, and
You have wall running,
you do
you have jetpacking, kind of
climbing,
like boosting, you have climbing,
sliding.
sliding.
There's
Very
grapple hooks.
in online there is,
Yeah,
yeah, not in the story, which sucks, but it's in the story it doesn't need it. It's very well designed.
right.
It's also has sort of a stealth aspect. Like most combat encounters in the story, if you are not controlling a Titan, you can completely skip over if you are fast enough, traverse well enough, and there's also like a cloaking ability you have that lasts for a certain amount of
Right.
time. Like you can really skip a lot of the combat of this game because for the most part it is you and BT against an army.
Hmm.
It's not like Call of Duty where you take control of one guy in the middle of a battle, but there's all these other people. It is for part of the first mission, but it's literally you up against an army, and you're not like you're a pilot who is good, but you're still one dude. Like it's very easy to get overpowered by all these people because one, there are a lot of just robots themselves that you're fighting, and two, you're just one dude. And I do like how it doesn't feel like you're just this elite soldier that can kill everyone in its path. There actually is a lot of times that even playing on easier difficulties, I was running around and hiding because I'm getting shot to hell and I can't do anything about it.
Hmm. I agree with that. The multiplayer is very standard. You've got your they have a few different game modes, but they're mostly pretty similar.
I mean, they're pretty much the standard gameplay,
You know,
standard
TDN.
FPS online games. You have TDM, you have Dominations, Capture the Flag.
Hmm.
They have different names, but it's what they are.
Right. Multiplayer does have, like you said, different things like the grappling hook and whatnot. It also has the Titans. You can customize your Titans and your loadouts. Super interesting. Although
Yeah.
you can't.
The Titan, we did kind of skip over this with combat. That is a part of it. The
Yeah.
Titans, very, very different from any FPS game. I don't know another
Yeah.
FPS game where you control where you control anything like this.
I feel like games have tried making mechs cool for a really long time, and it has not worked. And Titanfall definitely changed that. I mean, I was sold by the fact that you could climb onto your friendly mechs and enemy mechs. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
could destroy an enemy mech from on top of it. You could steal one. It's
You
really interesting
really
stuff.
They really did such a great job of balancing being in a Titan and not being in a Titan.
Yeah.
And even when you have a Titan, another thing is you can still be on the ground. The Titan just automatically goes with you and shoots things as well in multiplayer, which is cool. But honestly, like, to me, even, I feel like they maybe even did too good of a job of balancing it because the Titans don't feel that powerful in online matches. Because they're, like, honestly, like, if you can get close to one, they're
If
very
you
easy to
focus
take
it,
out.
yeah.
Yeah. But still, I think they did a great job of not making that just
Hmm.
completely overpowered. Like there are times when I was playing online because I did that a bit because I actually even online in this game to me was pretty enjoyable. I did like with the online one, like there are times when the entire other team isn't a Titan and no one on my team is a Titan, but I still didn't feel like, well, they all have Titans and we don't. We lost. That's it. Game over. It was still just, well, crap. Let's get rid of these Titans and then be back on a more level playing field. But the the multiplayer was great. I liked how, in my experience, it was never that difficult. Well, no, it was never like one sided. Every game I had was close, and anytime it seemed like a team was too far ahead to be caught up, wouldn't it wouldn't be.
Mm. It
Like
ends up evening
specifically,
out.
yeah, like specifically, I remember when getting trophies in this game. There's a trophy to win one multiplayer match. That's it, which I love as someone who likes getting trophies and hates online trophies. All you had to do was win one match. That's it. There's no trophy for winning 10 or 5 in a row, anything
Hmm.
like that, just one. And the match that I actually won and got that trophy on, like at one point, my team was down because it goes to 1,000.
Hmm.
The way the online works in this game, you have the enemies, pilots, which are the other
And
players,
then
but
you
then
have
you
the
also have
grunts.
just the regular grunts, which makes someone like me who isn't great at online games happy because any grunt you kill is 1 point, any pilot is 5, so you can still kill grunts and get points for your team.
Mm.
Like I would leave with like 2 and 6 against pilots, but I would have hundreds of points because I still killed a lot of grunts.
Mm.
And it's really awesome, I think, in terms of one, making it better for people who aren't as good, and two, also making the online matches feel like you're in a war. Like you
Right.
play like Call of Duty and it's 6 on 6. It's like it's very contained feeling battle, but all these matches felt like you're actually a part of some big fight in a war.
That's true, but it would be like 6 on 6.
Yeah, still, but
Hmm. You're right, because
but
you have grunts on both sides going
mhm.
around. You have titans everywhere,
Yeah,
whether or not they have pilots in them.
yeah.
It's a lot going on.
And then even like you could summon like the smaller robots
Yeah.
for like kill streaks and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And but yeah, the score was always attainable because like the match that I actually won to get the trophy for winning an online match, which got me the platinum, was at one point my team was down by like 200 points,
Hmm.
and it was like to 1,000, it was like 500 to 700 or something like that, and I was like, well, this game's a wash, I guess. Like I didn't want to quit it because it was still like, yeah, I guess I'll keep playing.
Hmm.
But I absolutely thought there was no way to win. And then we ended up coming back and winning that match by like 70 some points. And I was completely shocked. But I liked it because of all the different matches I played, it never was like, oh, this team wins 1,000 to 750 or anything. It was always like
Hmm.
100 points or less, which is pretty cool.
I'll say something for immersion.
Mm hmm.
The voice acting
Mm hmm.
and the interactions between BT and Jack, like when BT would throw him or when they would high five or some, stuff like that. And they would talk back and forth, and BT would answer Jack's questions. You know, I felt like it was more than your Call of Duty typical FPS campaign where it's just, run here, shoot these guys, run
Yeah,
here, shoot these guys.
the levels themselves to me they were all actually for an FPS game very open. Like almost kind of like open worldly feeling sometimes of like I have
It
no
was.
clue where to go. I'm in this big area. I
Mm,
guess I'll go this way and hope it's the right way.
right.
And if it's not, well, I guess I'll go this way now. Like super super big open levels, which is really cool because there's only like 10 or
Mm,
12. I think there's not a lot. But with the exception of like I think maybe one or two levels, it was a lot of hey, here's this big area. Find out what you have to do.
mm,
And I really enjoyed that. And I did also like the voice acting, the conversations. You know, I liked how like Jack and BT. I feel like it's almost kind of like that rookie cop paired with the veteran type thing of
yeah.
BT being like a robot and programmed is always very like by the book with talking and his answers and stuff. But then
Mm,
throughout the game, at least especially if you like pick the more casual conversation options when they pop up. Jack is just like basically he's just like on a trip.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Right.
kind of
He's
like
like having fun.
yeah, it's kind of like buddy copish
Right.
for a long
Exactly.
time.
It is, and I do like that vibe that they give. And it's in most FPSs. I always feel like it's like there's 15 people standing behind cover shooting at me. I'm standing behind cover shooting at them, and there's not really a point to it.
Yeah, for most like Call of Duty specifically, as of I think the last one I played, Call of Duty that I played was Advanced Warfare, and that one was obviously more story-ish. But the for the most part, like Call of Duty specifically, like even talking about the Modern Warfare series, which from Respawn did have a hand in, it was always like each mission, was always just like kind of like a battle, but there wasn't a lot of like interactions, and anytime there were, they were very short, and usually like the more comedic character interactions were in the loading screens between levels,
Mm-hmm.
like when they'd have that little like meeting
Mm-hmm.
thing with the radar showing where you are and stuff, and even a lot of times it would end up you being on your own, separated from the group, so now you have to figure out what to do completely by yourself. But in this, you're never by yourself because even when you are actually physically alone, BT can talk to you at any point, and he usually does. And it's very apparent because like even like Jackal like by himself would just ask BT for advice on a situation or something like that. And yeah, it's a lot more I feel like personable than typical like Call of Duty because I don't know, having no experience, real life military experience or experience in walking through kind of like these desolate-ish landscapes, I imagine that it can get boring and I would just feel like talking to someone with me about anything because there's nothing going on. But it I feel like in Call of Duty they don't do that. It's always they're always like super professional by the book and stuff. But in
Mm-hmm.
this, Jack Cooper, I feel like is very much kind of like how I would be of like, well, we're him and this robot have been walking for hours through this dense forest, not encountering anybody. I guess let's talk about something because the quiet is getting
Mm-hmm.
annoying. So I definitely really like that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the game just looks nice.
Yeah.
It's a very
True.
pretty game.
It is.
There are so many different environments you go through between like in the first mission when you're like in like a kind of forest canyon area. You go to like a factory where they're literally putting together fake like cities and stuff, and
Oh yeah, yeah. What they do have really interesting sets
you
in
have the
this
mission
game.
that's like on
Mm-hmm.
like where you're literally fighting on top of jets.
Yeah,
A lot of cool stuff.
this is a lot of cool stuff. There's really only one notable trophy for this game, right?
Yeah, pretty much. It is the dot 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 becomes the master, which is placed top three on the Gauntlet scoreboard. Which the trophy list in this game I like because it's one of those where I've seen where all the trophies in the list, if you look at it, are basically separated by missions. Like here's three trophies, and then the trophy for beating said mission, and then like two trophies, then trophy for beating said mission. So
Mm.
it's like okay, these three trophies go with this mission, and then these two trophies go with the next mission, and it kind of just goes down like that. Usually like one trophy per mission at least, mostly two. But in the very first mission of the Gauntlet, which is basically like the training course that every first-person shooter game has in the first level, there are two trophies related to it. There's the student dot dot dot, and then dot 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 becomes the master, kind of like a
Mm.
sentence. The trophy, the student for beating a certain person's time on the score on the scoreboard. I don't remember exactly who. It doesn't really matter. It's just an arbitrary time. But then becomes the master. You have to place in the top three, which I believe has like a 33.65 seconds, something like that.
Yeah, it's something crazy. You can see videos where people have like the most optimal run of the gauntlet, and they've just been the whole time while running and sliding.
Yeah. Hmm.
And you have to shoot, enemies, and at one point they throw a grenade while not never stopping moving.
Yeah.
That's what's so interesting. If you
Hmm.
can master the movement system in this game, you just don't stop moving.
Correct. And it's also like it's weird because like you run on walls faster than you run on the ground.
Yeah.
And if you jump off a wall and then use the jetpack, that again propels you forward faster than if you just jumped while running.
Yep.
So it's definitely like if you can go from like wall run to wall run, jump, jetpack, wall run over and over, you can get really fast. And some people can do this in ridiculously small amounts of time.
Hmm.
Yes, I did it.
Yes,
I,
impressive.
it took a while. It's really funny with this. I looked up, like videos of people doing it, see like what's a good strategy to do it. There's one video that in this initial guide I was looking at, this guy said, "Hey, this is the easiest way to do it. Get this weapon loadout and do it this way." The weapon loadout for the easiest way requires a rocket launcher, a shotgun, because shotguns in this game are ridiculous, and then the arc grenades, which are really cool grenades, where it's basically just like lightning that can jump to enemies. Basically, it's like you're using the rocket launcher and the grenades pretty much the whole time, because the rocket launcher in this game as well is very good.
Mm.
I didn't do that way because I couldn't get the rocket launcher because it's sort of hidden on top of this opening that you have to be able to like platform, wall run platform up to it to grab it, and I couldn't do it. So then there was another one that it was like, hey, this way, the guy who made the guide, he was like, this is the way I did it. It's not as easy as this other one, according to the general community of this game, but I personally find it easier, and it's the way that I did it. So I
Mm.
was like, and he said, all I use is the shotgun and the grenades. And I thought, okay, cool, I'll do that because I can't do it.
Mm.
But basically, it requires the reason that like the rocket launch one is easier is you cannot miss with the shotgun once, and there are moments where you use the grenade to take out groups of enemies rather than the rocket launcher, which is kind of harder because grenades are harder to aim, especially when you're throwing. And
Wall running and shit.
yeah, and it took me maybe like an hour and a half of
Damn.
playing the same 30 seconds over and over again. And even then, a lot of times when there are things like this, I don't do it like normal people do it. Like I feel like normal people will run through it and be like, okay, I need to improve this, or like if they mess up, they'll just continue the run anyway to at least practice those other parts. I didn't do that. I would do it until I messed up and then just immediately restart. And it's not great. The first group of enemies, 'cause I think they're like 14, and if you miss an enemy, like if you don't kill one, it's I think a 2-second penalty.
Mm.
So you either can one get super super good at just running through and only take out some of the enemies because there are some guys like I think the world record is like 21 seconds. So it's like that guy could literally go through, miss half the enemies, and he would still beat the time needed on this to get the trophy because he was just so fast. So I think my time that I did it was like 0.15 seconds faster or something like that. And it was basically first group of enemies you have to hit with a grenade, which getting that by itself because the first room is super open and the way the enemies are launched, the way the enemies are placed and stuff, it took me a while just to like I could not consistently do it.
Right.
And then after that, it was just the shotgun, which a lot of times it was like the way you would do it is you would jump off a wall while you're in the air, not touching anything else. You could aim like a little faster than while you were on the wall and like with a little more control. So it's like jump, shoot, jetpack to the wall across, and then just repeat that
Hmm.
down the hall. And yeah, I did it.
Nice.
I felt pretty proud of myself. I actually recorded it. I'll actually post that recording on Twitter. We'll use our Twitter for something.
Wow.
Yeah, it'll be cool. But it was
Yeah, it
it
was very
was very
difficult.
difficult. It was
Okay.
rewarding. I
So let's talk about the best Easter eggs and
Right, the
references.
best Easter eggs and references.
I
There's
didn't.
not,
The only one I knew about was the first one.
yeah, there aren't a lot. So basically, in the multiplayer map, Angel City, you can find a hidden pick of the developers. Very common Easter egg in games.
Yeah, I always
Um,
think it's funny though,
yeah,
because it's just straight up a picture of
yeah,
the guy, right?
yeah. Well,
You know,
the guys, yeah, the team.
wasn't
Yeah, it was a team. Sometimes it's just a single dude.
was it like a room with a whole bunch of other stuff and then the picture?
It was just like a standard looking room.
Okay,
Same Easter egg as in a lot of games. Type of Easter egg.
so many.
You can also in the map, the mission into the abyss. You can find these Loch Ness monster dolls on top of these rocks. In the video I saw, it looked like kind of like it was on top of a building. Very difficult to get to. But that's also something that was apparently in the first game.
Hmm.
Also, I didn't include this as an Easter egg because I couldn't tell. But in that same level, the guy says, like, in actually underwater, there was actually a giant Loch Ness monster. He got to that point and was looking down, and I was like, I can't tell if that's a Loch Ness monster or just like some weird looking shadow or rock. It's very
Hmm.
hard to tell. So I'm like, maybe that's in the game, maybe it's not. I really looking at it was like, I don't know. I'm not really seeing it.
Right.
And then the biggest one, I think, especially in terms of Easter eggs, is after the credits. The credits. It's one of those credits where it kind of shows like a montage of things happening, and at the end it shows Jack Cooper's helmet sitting there, because you actually like see him without his helmet for the first time and stuff. And then the face plate on the helmet is like flashing with lights, which is actually a binary code message that can be translated to Jack with a question mark at the end, which basically, people assume to mean that BT is still alive, like somehow his AI is still alive in Jack's helmet or something like that, which if there's ever a third game, I imagine would come into fruition, but I don't know if there will be because the game didn't sell well.
Yeah, I don't think there will be either.
Like it
I
was
don't.
released between like it was released in a terrible one. Like I think EA published it. They did not advertise it well, and they also like it was released. It was like Call of Duty Black Ops 3 came out. At least I think it was Black Ops 3. I don't remember exactly which Call of Duty it was. And then Titanfall 2 came out, and then a week later Battlefield 1 came out.
Right.
So it's like you release this game that is one lesser known, two wasn't advertised, and three like initially was an Xbox exclusive, so you didn't even have like the cross-platform support of it because most people on like PlayStation hadn't played it, and you released it between the two biggest FPS juggernauts that exist.
Hmm.
So it didn't sell well. Obviously, Respawn is still open. They didn't, go bankrupt from the game,
Actually, they're probably
thankfully.
doing better in the last year and a half than they have in the last 5 years.
Yeah, because of Apex Legends, they're doing great. So it's
Well,
like
Apex Legends, and they also did Jedi Fallen Order, didn't they? They did something else. Yeah. Anyway, talk about your favorite moment.
my favorite moment is it's in the story mission Affecting Cause, which is the mission where you find out about Anderson's. I did not know they made Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Wow,
Yeah,
good for man. They're good
that's
at
what I'm
making
saying.
games.
Yeah,
So
that's what I'm saying.
hopefully, because they're still open, still making games, Titanfall 3 is a possibility. I don't think it's very likely, which
Yeah.
sucks
Stick
because
to
it's a.
Star Wars games. I love those.
Anyway, yeah, going back to my favorite moment in the mission Affecting Cause, you find Anderson, and basically he had this device on him that like would jump between times, like the past and the
Yeah.
present, and it all has to do with the device that you're looking for, and it's such. I think like by the end of the mission it burns out, so you can't use it anymore because
Mm,
obviously that would be like obviously,
mm,
but it was such a cool thing to me being able to jump between the times, especially like at first you can't really control it, it's just happening, but then when you get his device, just press of a button and
yep.
you could go from like the past fighting security guards and security robots in this facility that is currently being operated to the present where it's been destroyed and it's just on fire and there are like those like not evil but those like monster creatures that are attacking you and just being able to jump back and forth whenever you want and how different they are.
Yeah, that is a super cool thing. A lot of times, I would be like in a fight and I get in a sticky situation and time out and go back to the present and be
Mhm.
like, "Damn, that was close," and then run somewhere else and pop back up in the
Yeah,
past and be like, "I'm back," and blast them for
yeah,
wherever I'm
because it's like
standing.
whenever you pop into the present and then back to the past, they'd be aiming where you were standing when you
Exactly.
popped out. So you basically are like teleporting and they don't know that. So there are a lot
Right.
of times where I would get like be being shot a lot and even like I'd pop to the present just so I could reload because I ran
Yeah,
out of ammo.
I've done that.
And then I would run behind everybody, start it, assassinate a guy, and then just run around
Do it
again
again.
shooting.
Right.
It was such a
Right.
cool concept. I thought it was executed flawlessly, and I would love really just if they made a game that was the whole game. You could do that. I think that would be awesome.
Hmm.
It was a very cool thing.
I was my favorite part is probably the mission you mentioned it earlier, where it's like a bunch of building pieces that are being moved and you're like on top of them. And it's like a gigantic scene in this factory, and you're fighting on it as it's being moved up, down, across. You're jumping across them. You're having to maneuver through all a bunch of stuff. At one point, there's a bunch of columns, I guess is what I would say. They're just like giant cylinders, tubes of some sort, and I had no idea where to go. Like a lot of times, I'd be like, I don't know where to go, and I'm like, I'll be like wall running and jumping across these tubes trying to go up in this level. You know what I mean? Just the design of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the World Foundry.
Yeah. So yeah, you have it written here already, but all the boss battles are pretty similar.
Yeah, it's all just you're in a Titan fighting someone else in a Titan. They have
Yeah.
different, like each person has
Yes, because
different
it's the
abilities.
different titans in the game that you can
hmm
use.
I guess we didn't mention it. Online, they're different Titans, and in story, you actually get different like weapon kits. I think is what they're
That's what
called.
they're, yeah.
Yeah, and most of those are really cool.
hmm I actually found like pretty early. I found the one I liked, and I tried all of them, but I just stuck with the
Yeah,
one.
to me, it was like one of the first two. Like the first
Yeah.
two, I would switch between a lot, and those were the only ones. Until like the very last one, because your like ultimate for that one was like auto lock,
hmm
which was really cool because I would just auto lock
Yeah.
everything. But the first two were, I think, the best.
hmm
The worst one, I can't remember what it's called, but it's one where you get a sword. That one actually was awful. I remember when, because you have like enemy robots that have those abilities before you unlock them yourself, and seeing other enemies with the sword, I was like, oh, I can't wait to get there.
Yeah.
That's so cool. It was awful. It was very
It was
slow.
terrible.
It didn't do a lot of damage. But yeah, all the boss fights are pretty much the same. It's just you're in a Titan fighting someone else in a Titan.
Mm.
The abilities don't change enough for me to say, oh
Yeah.
man, this fight was awesome because they used this ability, or this fight was awesome because you used this ability. They were all
Right.
basically
They're
the
just a
same.
different type.
Kane, to me, I just put kind of as my quote unquote favorite, just because it's the first one.
Yeah.
And so, me having never played the
Right.
first
It was
game,
fresh.
and yeah, having never played the first game, and at this point, like I did the story before playing online. It was my first Titan on Titan fight,
Right.
and it was just so made me feel
Yeah.
so
That's how it
awesome.
was for me, and it was hype.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely makes you feel like that. But then every time after that, I'm just like another chump.
Yeah.
I felt like a Titan. Every time I was in my Titan, I
hmm
felt like I was unbeatable.
Which, the fact that they're all similar, I'm not saying it's bad. They're all fun. It's
Yeah.
just I can't really pick a favorite because they're all the same,
Yeah.
pretty much.
It's like trying to pick a favorite gun in Call of Duty.
Yeah, for the most part,
They're
yeah.
all guns.
Was there anything that you didn't like about the game?
The one thing I would complain about with my time in the game is that sometimes I would go to run and like the run L3. It happens in some other games where I like start sprinting and then stop and then start again and then stop, and it's like
Yeah.
really hard to in a game where like momentum is important and movement is important. I don't want to,
No, I think I did have that happen as well, but it didn't.
It was not game breaking. No.
Yeah, I don't think that
It was
really.
just I would just be like, oh, boo,
I
annoying.
and really, I don't really have anything I didn't like about it. Like it was the first FPS game I had played in a long time because
Mhm.
back when we were like around the time when Call of Duty was probably at its most popular, that's like all we played were FPS games. We would play pretty much just Call of Duty all day, every day. Like I even think like if you put it in like straight hours mathematical kind of thing, like the game that I have probably put the most time into in my entire life was a Call of Duty game. So we used to only play first person shooters, but then I really got out of those and very rarely play them. So this was the first one in a while, and it really put me in like a first person shooter kind of mood. It was really, really good. Like just really solid. Yeah.
Yeah, all in all, the
What
story is good. The multiplayer is good. It's a fantastic game. I happily would have paid $60 for it.
yeah. Mhm.
Especially after having played it. I would recommend it to anybody who likes FPSs or is interested in mechs, especially if you play Apex, because it's you know Apex but with mechs and multiplayer and a story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything you want to add?
No. No, I think that's it. It's like it's a fun game, really, but I feel like it's similar to like Grim Fandango. I feel like if there's not too much to talk about it, really, it's like
hmm
I loved it, and I will like gladly at any point that I'm like, yeah, I really want to play it again.
hmm hmm
It's definitely not like a oh, I played that game, I'm never gonna play it again type of feeling.
Right.
But it's just yeah, I feel like as good as it is, it's still a fairly standard
Yeah,
FPS game. And
that's
then
true.
I mean, it was good. Like it was
Yeah.
really fun. It was also it was a quick playthrough. Like the campaign itself, maybe 4 or 5 hours, so not long. But it was like it was fun. I played through it. I think every mission at least 3 times, getting collectibles and the difficulty trophies. But it was never like I was never bored or felt like it was tedious to do.
hmm All right.
Now we're gonna move on to the indie bit.
The indie bit. This is the bit where we talk about indie games. In today's episode of the indie bit, we're going to talk about Limbo.
Limbo.
Limbo is made by. You said it earlier.
Yes, I did.
I didn't. I don't know.
Limbo is made by Playdead, who are
Okay.
they're like Swedish or something.
Okay.
I think it's Swedish. I don't know. I'm sorry to anyone I offended if I got that wrong.
Then.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah, to all the
Um.
Playdead employees that listen to this episode, I'm sorry if you're not Swedish.
Well, if they're listening, they're gonna love this next part because I think we can both agree that we love Limbo.
Yeah.
It's
So
yeah,
it's very simple story wise. You're basically playing as this boy who's running through this environment.
the woods. I
It
thought it
starts out
was
as
the
the
woods.
woods, then it goes to like sewers, then you're in a city, then you're in some weird kind of glassy kind of factory area, and then that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're back in the
Oh,
woods.
you
Actually,
restart.
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Spoilers.
Basically, like you're at the beginning, you don't really know what you're doing. Then it's like you're chasing a girl, I guess.
Yeah.
That's it. Gameplay wise, also very simple. It's a 2D platformer. There's some, pulling, pushing stuff, puzzle solving.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very simple. It's a lot of jumping at the right times, and definitely towards the end, gets a lot of like time based
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And at the end, like you get switches that flip gravity, and you deal with
Right. In this game, though, the controls are very tight, which is important. Every time I died, I knew it was my fault. I messed up, and when there was a part I would be confused about, like I died and I don't know what I was supposed to do. I just had to play through it once or twice more, and then it became clear to me.
yeah,
Like, oh, I have to move this first
yeah.
instead.
It's a lot of death because if you fail, you
Oh
die.
yeah,
That's
one
how it
hundred
is. It's
percent.
artistically, it's a really good game.
Mhm.
It's black and white, and then it has
Mhm.
kind of like that grainy film filter over it,
Yep.
and everything is like very minimalist in terms of shapes. Like it's all like silhouettes.
Mhm.
Like the even like all the people you see are not like super defined.
Right. The
Um,
mood of the game is so eerie and hopeless.
it's very minimal music. It's like the sound effects are kind of like boosted, sort of like if you've seen like a quiet place where
Mm.
like everything like steps and
Yeah, that's
the
crunch.
sound of like that crunch, then like flies, you hear a lot, the buzzing
Mhm.
of flies and stuff like that. Like that's
Water.
it. Yeah, water, like there's no talking. There's just those sound effects.
Mhm.
And then every once in a while, there'll be like a music thing, but and then just kind of like overall ominous music, but it's
Mm.
very like minimalist, but it's pulled off very well.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's short, it's sweet. There are moments in it that had my heart racing a bit,
Mhm. Yeah,
the spider
the
and
spider.
stuff like that. The controls are nice, the game is not too difficult, and the story is interesting and philosophical. You
Yeah,
love
it's
that.
very. Yeah, I mean, like we had said, talking about Little Nightmares. I said it's just a not as good Playdead game. Of it's like this. The main game itself is, at first you're just going along these woods, then you're running from a spider, then you're chasing after this girl. It's all very whatever
Ambiguous?
ambiguous.
Hmm.
And then at the end, when you go through this, like you smash through this glass thing, and then you're back in the woods. You wake up again like the beginning, and then you run right, and you end up like at that girl. You approach her, she notices you. Game ends. Very simple. It's like like this is something. The game itself, story wise, is interesting. It kept me hooked, and then the actual lore of it, to me, I felt like I wanted to figure out. I did look into this one a bit, and it's like, some people theorize that this boy is actually dead and he's in limbo,
Hmm.
kind of forced to go through this same cycle over and over again, which
Hmm.
is why the beginning of the game is very similar to the end of the game
Right.
and stuff like that. Very interesting.
And hopefully that trend continues in our next episode of the Indie Bit, which will be about Spirit of the North, a game you discovered and bought, and I just downloaded off of you because you had it.
Yeah, it's like I watched, I think it was like the announcement trailer for this game a year or two ago, and basically you play as a fox.
Mhm.
You also play as like a fox spirit, and that's it. And I thought, well, that looks fun.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
sold.
yeah,
That's like
that's
the when I heard about the PS5 game where you play a cat detective who has a backpack.
what?
Yeah, I think it's called like Stray or something like that, but you're a cat who is a detective
No, that's
and wears a
sold.
backpack.
That's all
And
you
I was
need.
like, take my money now.
No, I mean that's literally what it was like for this game because I was like, because I especially always look for games that I can play with like my girlfriend watching, or even she
Hmm.
can play because she's not like as into games as I am.
Right.
But I was like, well, you play as a fox. I like foxes. My girlfriend likes foxes. Sold.
Yeah,
And
I
that's all I
saw it
needed.
and I was like, "Hey Paige, check out this game," because she likes
Yeah.
foxes as well. And that's how we do our games. Is they'll be like indie games
Hmm.
or games for kids. Like I was talking about getting Lego Star Wars or
Oh, I
something
did
like
that.
that.
I bought because my girlfriend's a big Harry Potter fan. I bought the Lego Harry Potter years 1 through 4 on the PS3, and then not yet, but years 5 through 7 I'll get because I was like, she likes Harry Potter. I like Lego games. Lego Harry Potter years 1 through 4. I never got the platinum on because it glitched on us that one time when we played it. This is now,
Damn you, Lego games.
and it's very simple to get me to buy games, I guess. But Spirit of the North, it looked fun, and so I thought, yeah, okay, I'll get it. And now we're gonna talk about it.
Right. So don't forget new episodes every other Monday. Like, rate, and subscribe. Tell us if you like our show. Tell us if you don't like it, and tell us why. We do want to get better. We want to improve and learn. Tell your friends and your enemies. Also, follow us on Twitter at Superb Gamer Bros, SUPERB Gamer Bros, for updates on episodes. And we'll see you guys next time.
Yep, see you guys next game.
Wait, who are you waving to?
Uh, it,
Hold on, you
it's
realize it's a recording, right?
yeah, no, I just wanted to wave.
You said, see you next time.
I said see you next game, and then
I
wave.
said, wait, what?
Just let me wave.
I know you think you're clever because you say see you next game instead of next time, but it comes off as tacky, and I didn't want to be the one to tell you.
It is
But
abso-
now that
It is
guy
abso-
from
It is
now that guy
abso-
from Washington is gonna comment and be like, please stop saying next game.
No, it's cool. It's cool. Moving on. See you guys next game.